We're here in East Vancouver. It's a beautiful morning on this Thursday. Hartley, you are with Tree Keepers. Now, this is an amazing initiative in the city of Vancouver that encourages urban forestry, right?
That's right.
Okay, tell me a little bit about the details of how this works.
So Tree Keepers is a partnership between Tree City and the Environmental Youth Alliance, and we're working with the city of Vancouver to help grow the urban forest. We're trying to make trees as accessible to as many residents in the city as possible to help build the canopy and get people involved in planting trees.
So the idea of having this giant tree that costs a fortune, you guys are sort of putting that stigma aside and saying, hey, you can get things like this that are good for small yards or apartments, and they're affordable as well, right?
Exactly, yeah. We have trees for basically everyone, balcony, rooftops, people with backyards. So it's we also provide a lot of education, and everything is available online for between $10 and $15. So it really makes it affordable.
Amazing. And talk to us about some of the varieties here. You have about 16 different varieties you can choose from?
Yeah, we have great diversity. I've brought 5 with me here today. We've got a Japanese maple, Japanese stewardia, magnolia over here. We've got a fig tree down here, and we also offer several varieties of fruit tree as well. We've got an apple tree right here.
See, some of these trees, I mean, you mentioned they blossom, they flower, or they provide fruit. So these are sort of these aren't just your average, everyday sort of typical trees or plants. Like, they're actually they have an important part of the ecosystem as well, right?
Exactly. We really tried hard to pick fantastic species that have several seasons of interest. Provide food, a wildlife habitat. So yeah, it's been a great program, and people have been very, very receptive to it.
Awesome, Hartley.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. We're here with him all morning long, and coming up, you guys, we're going to be learning about how to plant the tree properly and how to properly take care of it. We're with Tree Keepers in East Vancouver. Awesome stuff here. In East Vancouver and Hartley, this is a great initiative in Vancouver that encourages urban forestry, right?
That's right.
All right, how does it work? How do people physically get these trees? Because they're affordable. Some of them are under $20. How does it work through the website?
Right, so people log on to treekeepers.ca, and there's 16 different trees that they can choose from. They choose the tree, and then they choose between 8 different distribution centers that we have, most of them at community centers. So they make that selection, and then they go pick up their tree when those distribution centers are open.
So easy. Okay, we got a little Japanese maple here. Yep. And we're going to talk about the 3 S's of picking a spot to plant the tree. What's the first S?
First S is sun. Most trees will typically appreciate at least 4 to 6 hours of sun a day. This Japanese maple, it can tolerate a bit less light. So we're south facing here. We've got a pine tree and a cherry tree that'll cast quite a bit of shade until the afternoon. So I've chosen a sort of shade tolerant tree, which is the Japanese maple.
Okay, very quickly, what are the other 2 S's?
Yeah, so soil, you want to have a pretty good well-draining soil with a combination of sand and loam.
Nice.
Really, really important that you don't have too much clay in there, because most tree roots do not appreciate standing water.
You want that good drainage.
Yeah.
And the third S?
Third S is space. Okay. So typically we're looking at how big a space the tree is going to fill.
Right.
So this is a smaller tree. We've got a fence here and other trees in close proximity. So again, I've chosen a smaller tree to fill like a smaller space. We do have other trees that have quite a big canopy, so you'd be looking at needing a bit larger of a space there.
Okay, awesome. Thanks a lot. We're going to talk about some common mistakes people make a little bit later, but we're learning some fascinating stuff all about trees here. We're talking about urban forestry right now with the Tree Keepers. Hartley, fascinating stuff. What are some of the major misconceptions, the don'ts of tree planting?
Yeah, most people try and plant the tree a bit too deep. So what I've done here is I've set up a bamboo pole and the container to gauge the depth of how deep the hole should be.
Right.
The second one would be, and when it comes out of the pot, what you'll see is roots circling within the root ball. What I'd like to see happen is pulling those roots out and spreading them out.
Such great advice. So you're not hurting the roots by pulling them apart like that at all?
No, if you don't actually do that, the roots will stay in that ball and basically choke the tree.
Okay.
So yeah, we want to make sure those are out. The third thing I would suggest is not really babying the tree by putting fresh new soil in. Just use the native soil when you're back backfilling and give it a bit of tough love so the roots kind of move into the native soil and not into a really fresh new start with fresh soil.
That's a great tip, because people may be thinking, oh, the new tree, it's got to have the love of the new compost or the new soil.
Yeah.
But you're saying it gets a little too comfortable there, and it doesn't branch out.
Exactly, yeah. So just use whatever soil you have there. If you have a really sandy soil or clay soil, I would suggest amending it. But otherwise, we've got a pretty good soil here as it is, and I don't need to add new soil.
So you don't really need to worry about overwatering, because if you've got soil with good drainage, it shouldn't be an issue.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff, Hartley. Thanks so much. You can check them out at treekeepers.ca, and you just go to the website, you guys. You can choose from 16 varieties, and they will go to one of many distribution centers here in Vancouver where you can go pick them up. Fascinating stuff. Who knew? Urban forestry. We're here with Tree Keepers and Hartley. This has been fascinating. We're talking about urban forestry. Now, people may be intimidated if they don't have a big yard or something like that, but don't let that stop you from purchasing one of these trees at a great price as well, some of them under $20. What are the alternatives to the yard for tree planting?
Well, we get a lot of requests. People have small urban spaces, rooftops, patios, and we're suggesting to people that we can plant trees in containers,
Right.
and they do quite well.
And you can get that at any garden store. So we've got an example here, and this essentially is what you will get at the distribution center, one of a few in Vancouver that you can go to when you order a tree, one of 16 varieties from treekeepers.ca. It essentially looks like a stick I would throw for Sparky at Trout Lake.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, this is an apple tree. All of the fruit trees that we have come bare roots, or they're not actually in a container. And yeah, we've got it in quite a large pot here with some standard potting soil that you can get at any retail garden shop. And you see their roots exposed. So we want to plant, in terms of the depth, about an inch below the
Right.
top of the container.
Okay.
And all I'm going to do is make sure that these roots are spread out, and I'm going to pile the potting mix just around the soil.
And once you get the tree, you want to make sure you keep the roots moist, right?
Exactly, yeah. Especially in the first couple months of the tree's life, very, very sensitive. Make sure that moisture is always high.
And they can stay in the containers for their entire life.
They can. This one here will probably be in here for about 2 years, and then I'll consider potting up to a larger size, or I'll take it out, trim the edges, and put some new fresh compost in.
Beautiful stuff, Hartley. Thanks so much. It's been fascinating here learning all about this. And make sure you go to treekeepers.ca if you would like to get your very own tree. They have 16 varieties. Thanks a lot for having us on.
Thanks, Thor.